Israel is going to sink this carrier under the guise as though Iran did it.
I built this thing from the bottom, they tore it down, I rebuilt it. I give myself a task, you can bet your ass I fulfill it. Yeah, man, I'm talking about Willis, one of the realest to try. My family.
Pull and Thread Podcast, episode 122.
I know we were in the 20s a month ago, so this can't be 122, but that's all right. No, I think you keep changing it.
Nope.
Like next week, we're going to be like episode 153.
So, how's the West Coast?
There's actually no reason to go to the West Coast except for food.
Where'd you fly into?
Ontario. Ontario's
It's kind of a weird one.
Well, you know, the reality is Ontario is growing, and so that is a.
It was pretty big when I was there last
But
time.
I mean, it's a real airport now. Or I say now, guys. 20 years ago, it was just biplanes and shit flying in there. But yeah, it's Ontario's a real nice airport, and I wouldn't. Like I think at this point, if somebody flew me into LAX, I would be pissed.
Oh, I wouldn't want to go into LAX.
Yeah.
Plus, they were trying to shut it all down and shit with the protesters and everything.
I didn't see any of that.
You didn't see none of it?
Not a single protester. I was upset. I was looking for some Antifa and didn't see any of it. Nothing. It's again,
Maybe they were out of costume.
California's a big place.
Did you see any little girls that cut their hair with a bowl and they had it dyed like fucking a bright colored nose ring?
Did I see any? I think I don't see anything weird. But again, I went.
What's the nose ring signify if you've got the nose ring?
That you want to be pulled around, that you need to be manhandled, because that's the only reason why you use a nose ring is to hook a chain to it and be.
Is that what it is?
Yeah, that's what it is. So.
You guys are really making me want to get one.
Okay, so back to California.
Yeah, I didn't see anything weird in California, but oh man, God, I don't know what's wrong. Well, I do know what's wrong with them. They're not Mexicans.
All the people that won't work.
No, I don't know what's wrong with. I don't know what's wrong with our. Sorry, I don't know what's wrong with our Tennessee Mexicans. They just can't cook.
Got it.
They just can't cook like they do in. Oh God,
they're not from Baja. They're from a different. They're from the other side.
The food is so good. The food is so fucking good. Oh, it's disgustingly good.
Where'd you eat?
John's backyard.
What's he got? Mexican?
No. So again, here's the difference. The Stater brothers, right down the street,
Had carne asada packages.
had everything. There was a girl in there. I went in there to get stuff for the road trip back, and there's a girl in there chopping it all up. Everything that you need, you just walk in there and you're like, here's my guacamole, here's my onions, here's my pico de gallo, here's my salsa, here's my carne asada meat already marinated, ready to go. Like.
That's how Costco used to have good carne asada already done.
It's a whole different world, and everything just tastes so much better. Oh man, I'm bummed. I do want to open a Del Taco franchise here, though.
So how many days did it take you to drive back?
3, I think.
Do any sightseeing?
I don't remember. Not really.
Okay,
I mean,
so-
I stopped at all the usual suspect places that I stopped because it's bad luck not to stop at those places. So
Like what?
like, you know, there's some places on the reservation I stop, and certain rest stops that I have to stop at.
The reservation.
Yeah.
So how'd you end up on the reservation?
I-40 drives right through it.
Okay, so on both sides?
What do you mean, both sides of the freeway?
Yeah.
Yeah, you drive right through the middle of the reservation when you're in New Mexico and Arizona.
So you had to you found yourself down a road, stopped because you needed to pee.
Oh yeah, so you want to talk about the reservation? So you're driving down I-40, and there's this place on I-40 that I stop at every time because it holds a lot of fond memories, and it had to be. Like, originally, it was probably built in the 50s, and it's just one of those places where you could buy some turquoise and some Chiquita dolls or whatever. You could buy some Indian blankets and shit. And I'm sure it was nice in the day.
Now they say from China.
Yeah, I'm sure it was a nice place way back in the day. And now it's like trying to hold on, but it's not really holding on. So, like, all the stuff that they put up on the mountain, the deer and the eagle and stuff, it's all melting a little bit. And, like, half the shops they're either closed or burnt down, but then there's like right next to it, there'll be this brand new place, and it's selling whatever you can think of that you would think that the Indians would be selling that is not manufactured on the reservation at all. And so it's just an interesting world. Well, because you're on I-40, you're basically just driving through reservations I left there and I was still going, and I'm like, man, I really got to go to the bathroom. So a good thing I'm in an RV. I can just pull over. So I hit this off ramp, and as soon as I get to the top of the off ramp, I hit those the bars that they put across. Yeah, cattle guard that they put across the road to keep cows from going through. I'm like, yeah, we're out in the middle of nowhere, and I turn again, and I see this big parking lot, this big dirt parking lot, and it's kind of a dusty, dirty neighborhood area because, again, it's New Mexico.
What's the big parking lot for?
I don't know. I did see, there was a sign that said do not cross this fence. So I'm like, okay, well, I'll just turn in there. So again, I hit more cattle guards. I hit these cattle guards, and I turn in there, and I park, and I look across the way, and there's this house, probably a really small 1-bedroom, that is definitely abandoned. Windows are broken, and then the horse just standing in front of the house, like, what's up? And so I'm like, where the fuck am I? And then I start looking around, and there's a bunch of different. There's probably 15 horses in this area, and they're just wandering around through people's yards and shit. And then I'm like, oh, I'm on the reservation where nothing belongs to anyone. It's just everybody's.
Is that really the deal?
I don't know.
So are all those houses abandoned?
No, there were it was just like the Indian shop, right? There would be a semi-livable house, and then a burned-out place, and then a really nice house, and then 4 more empty places. Like it,
Did you buy
it's
anything?
weird. I did not buy anything. As a matter of fact, I didn't even go in any of the shops because
Everybody there.
I know all the stuff is made in China.
Everybody there is like, as soon as the economy picks up, tourism will be right back through here.
I wasn't. There was a lot of people that stopped there. A lot of people stopped there with kids and stuff and got out and looked at the stuff. But I was on a mission.
You can get yourself a nice little
bolo
tie.
I thought about getting a bolo. I thought about it, but no, I didn't get it. I was on a mission. I had to keep moving because the air conditioning in the RV didn't work. And
only when it's moving quickly.
And so
what kind of RV is this?
It is a.
Is it nice?
It's a, what do you call it? It's one of the big ones.
Motor coach.
It's a motor coach. I mean, it's nice. It's just the AC hadn't been attended to, and so it was blowing out nothing but hot air. And I just crossed. Well, I didn't just.
I remember those trips when we were kids.
But I had to crossed the Mojave Desert, and it was heat warning the whole way, which wasn't bad. It was a very interesting trip in the sense of I noticed a lot of things I haven't noticed before. Is very hot going across the Mojave, and I was more worried that the coach was going to overheat, but it never overheated at all.
Do they still have, coming up out of the desert and shit, do they still have those big, like, those concrete tanks of water?
No.
So if your shit's overheating,
all that
you
shit
remember those?
Yeah, all that shit's gone. But anyways, it's just a pretty long trip. The worst part of it was the last day and a half because of the humidity, but outside of that, it was good. It was good. Coach ran pretty good. So
Did you stop in Texas at the giant steakhouse where they have the big, huge chair?
I was going to stop
some rattlesnakes.
I was going to stop in Texas and try and eat that 72 ouncer.
That's the one.
Yeah, but because of the way the road trip was going, every time I hit a place where I thought, maybe I'll stop and have something to eat, it was fucking 11:30. Like, it was 11:30 when I got there. So I'm like, and there's a spot where you go from New Mexico to Texas. So you cross New Mexico, it's still a desert. You get into Texas, it's still a desert. And then you start to see in the medium, you start to see grass, like green grass. And within a mile of seeing that green grass, you're just hit with that humidity. And once I got hit with that humidity, I was like, oh my God, I just got to get home. I got to get, because I was running the coach dry, so there wasn't a shower. And so I just drove right through. But yeah, it was a good trip. I liked it.
Shoot any guns while you're gone?
No time. You can't shoot in California anymore
At all?
I mean, not really. I don't have any guns in California.
Did you shoot guns as soon as you got home?
No, I got home last night at like 1:30 in the morning.
Did you shoot a gun today?
No.
Are you feeling okay?
I touched a gun today, though.
Okay.
I didn't shoot one today. I'll shoot one when I get home, probably.
All right.
Yeah. It was just in a hurry to get here, so.
Okay. So you know all about Iran.
That they're getting their carpet Air Force together right now to fly in and bomb everybody?
Yeah, you're gonna make us do something that's gonna be remembered in history for thousands of years. And then they showed a picture of him holding like I don't even know what the fuck it was. It's like a shell, but it's got a nuclear hazard thing on there, as though they now have a nuclear weapon.
When you were gonna do something, when you're gonna do something that people will remember for eternity, you don't tell anybody.
Mm-hmm.
You do it.
So Israel apparently is over there. Well, Israel's over there bombing the shit out of them, right? And they have, one by one, they have ground forces apparently running like direct action shit. And they're eliminating all of these military personnel.
Yeah.
And then the supreme leader apparently has been missing for 2 days now and has not been on TV. Did you see the one of the female news person up there screaming and yelling and the fucking missile struck her?
Yeah. Missile struck the TV
building?
Studio?
Yeah.
It's funny that I saw a meme, I saw a meme where it was like, talking about the supreme leader and nobody knows where the supreme leader is. Nobody knows where the military doesn't know. And
then Trump's
no, they're like, the people don't know. And then it's a picture of somebody, it's a picture of somebody with an Israeli flag behind him. And it's like, well, we know where he's at.
Yeah.
Yeah. They again, very well. This is and you go ahead and rewind the podcast. Rewind the podcast 5 months ago. I said it. Israel does not need our involvement whatsoever in this little escapade. They got it under control.
What do you think China's flying in? China's every day been landing a 747 temporarily there, takes off, leaves, and then another one comes in every day for several days.
The reality is, unless they're flying in nuclear missiles, which we would be able to identify, so we would know if they were flying in nuclear material. Unless they're flying in nuclear materials, there's nothing that they are providing Iran with that is going to make a difference because the reality is, if China was flying something in material wise that would make a difference, in the current war going on over there, if they did, the Israelis would blow it up on the tarmac. Like the Israelis, they have been planning this operation for years. They have people in all the right places.
Did you see they had a drone base? Israel had a base within inside Iran.
Yeah, so I don't know if you saw this. Yesterday was the first credible reported shooting down of an Israeli aircraft. And it was a drone, okay? So they shot this drone down. And Iran is, they're doing what the losing side always does. The minute they shoot down one of somebody else's shit, they take pictures and do the photo op with it. The interesting thing about the drone that they shot down, the really interesting thing about the drone that they shot down, the drone they shot down does not have the capability to fly from Israel to Iran and conduct operations. Doesn't have the fuel requirements. So the Israelis are operating air bases within the fucking continent of Iran.
Yeah.
Yeah, the Mossad has a full-on air base somewhere where they're just like,
I don't remember who it was, but I think it was J.D. Vance I saw say, when asked about Iran sinking a U.S. ship, he said, no, he didn't. They didn't sink any of our ships. They didn't even come close to striking our ship. I think you said it was 100 miles off or 150 miles away. He said, but we sank 8 of their ships in that whole thing. Like, we sunk to the bottom. And then you have a lot of people reporting that all these oil tankers in the Straits of Hormuz are under fire. And then you see some reporting that 2 of them struck each other. 2 ships collided, and those have caught fire. But the straits are apparently still open. Everybody's... the reporting is that they're going to, seal the Straits of Hormuz, which will be a problem. But that's how they export all their fuel. They can't move fuel railway. All their fuel goes out through those ships.
Yeah,
they supply 60% of the fuel or something that China gets and uses.
That's a big deal. If anybody ever talks about if anybody ever when people talk about the United States and going to war over oil, Iran is really outside of, again, the Persian Gulf in general, but outside of anywhere else, Iran has sweet crude that we would really, that will if Iran becomes a partner in the global economy, that oil will affect the price of oil all over the world because it's good oil and they have a lot of it. So it'll be interesting to see what happens. I mean, again, there's a lot of things going on. The Israelis don't have the bomb technology to get to the depth that they need to get to destroy the actual real infrastructure for the weapons. They don't have the bomb that can do that. We do, and we can drop it with a B-1. We can drop it with a bunch of aircraft, but
so we got B-2s and B-52s are over there right now.
Yeah, they won't. They probably won't. You probably won't see B-52s because we're still a little sketch. We're still a little sketch about what capability Iran has as far as shooting aircraft down. If
you think they've been able to sit on something and not use it,
I don't know, but we're still, because here's the issue. The issue is we can't if the Iranians shoot down an Israeli plane, it's a cost of doing business, right? It's a war loss. We can't have that. We can't have an American being paraded around in the streets in Iran being shot down. So we have the capability to do it without. So you probably, if we do drop the bomb, if we do use that bunker buster, it'll be out of a B-1, and it'll never be in danger. Like a B-1 will be able to.
That just because it's so high, or because it's stealth technology?
It's high. It's fast. So we'll use a B-1. We won't. Unfortunately, I know the B-52 is the queen of the battlefield, but we won't use the slow, dumb plane. We'll use the fast, smart plane.
Everything that Iran has thrown at Israel so far hasn't really had any guidance to it, it seems like. They're not able to strike military targets, runways, stuff like that. They're just blindly launching, and they're hitting and of course that's Israel's telling their side of it, but they're saying it's hitting civilian housing and just random shit. And then the Israelis also say that they've taken out 70% of their launchers, so while they might have ordnance, they don't have any system to launch them. Every time they launch them, they blow them up.
That's still 20%, right? 20% can do damage. You know, again, I have this. I don't understand. I mean, I do understand because people try and use it as a reason for war. But the minute you go to war, the minute you go to war with another country, that don't mean your fucking civilians are out of play. Like that. That's war. War is we're killing everybody until someone stops fighting. So, I mean...
So what's happening in Ukraine right now? Because there's not a fucking word about any of that.
Oh, it's gonna shrivel on the vine. It's the rum raisin of conflicts right now. Because we're gonna, okay. This has the capability of turning into something bigger, but probably not. The Israelis have used Mossad and their Air Force to really, really cut off a lot of heads on snakes. And I think what everybody is doing right now, even the president, I think what everybody's doing right now is kind of not pausing, meaning Israel's putting 200 aircraft, they're putting 200 plus aircraft over Iran every night and hitting anything that exposes itself.
Not during the day, only at night.
Well, they can do it unopposed at night
because they can see them during the day.
I'm sure they have assets in the air over during the day, but at night they're doing 250 sorties. So, they have that airspace controlled. I am sure that Israel's plan and the United States plan is we're hoping, because of the way Israel has been attacking Iran, because of the selectiveness of the targets and the people they've been killing, I am sure that they are hoping that there's going to be a popular uprising and the government will be.
Well, there's a lot of
disemboweled.
speculation that that's already happening. Like they cut all the internet off,
Well,
and then Elon Musk gave them all internet, and people are like, "Why is he helping the Iranians?" He's not. He's allowing the Iranian populace.
the reason why the reason why, I mean, it's so gangster, right? It's just, the reality is what's going on over there is so gangster, and people don't even understand how gangster it is. So when you think about communication today, right? When you think about the communication that everybody does every day, it requires the internet, right? So if the Ayatollah wants to call in for some rock and rolla, he has to use the internet to a certain extent, right? And the day before the internet got turned off, the Israelis came out, the Israeli Defense Force came out and said, "Hey, my sweet, sweet, beautiful Iranian brothers, you guys need to stop calling us. We don't mean you any harm. We're just going after the leadership. But if you want to help out in making your country great again," they sent an email address out over the airways to all of Iran
to report where
to
their targets were.
Well, to connect them to Mossad, right? And so again, if you're an evil dictator, like that's the thing about these countries that are being run by dictators, is good or bad. There's like this fine balance, right? They have this fine balance, and they have to maintain that balance because it could fall either way, right? It could fall more to the left. It could fall more to the right. Either way, you guys on the top are falling the farthest, right? And so you have to maintain this balance. And now you're in your bunker and you hear, "Hey, sweet, sweet Iranians, if you would love to come talk to the 1-800 number, Mossad," like they even are like, "It's 1-800 Mossad." Of course you shut down the internet. You have to, because you don't. I'm looking at. We're in the bunker right now, John. I'm looking at Brandel, and that motherfucker is on his phone texting right now. We would have to immediately kill him because we don't know. Like we'd have to be like, Mufafas, go over there and take care of this guy, because you don't know who's doing what, right? Because they had like Mossad had like the number 2 guy in the Iranian military was a Mossad guy that had been there for 20 years.
Yeah, I keep hearing that.
So anybody that's in that the small inner circle, right? Like if you want to think about this, the Ayatollah has a circle of people around him. Let's just pretend it's 10, right? Every one of them is now going like this. Where the fuck was Brandel Tuesday? When the bunker got blown up and all the generals got killed, Brandel was out smoking a cigarette on the poop deck. Right? Everybody's going to start looking at everybody internally as who's the fucking rat. The ship is sinking. So I mean, it's a great operation. Now, like I said before, and I say this right now, outside of a very specific piece of hardware that only America has the capability to deliver, Israel does not need us. Do they really need us to use that piece of hardware? It'll make it easier, right? It'll make it easier. But Mossad and fucking Israeli special forces could land fucking helicopters there, go in there and blow that place up if they wanted to. Now, there's a high probability that you're going to lose troops and shit like that. So again, you have to look at the bigger picture. If I can convince America to fly one of their bombs over and drop it, then I don't have to use those assets.
So why has that not happened yet?
Because I believe that the sane people that don't want to drag us into another war, not the fucking war hawks that are beating the drums in Congress already. Let's go to war. We need to go to war. I think the people who are smart and have cool heads are hoping that this is going to resolve itself internally.
Okay, so Trump was supposed to doing an address at the White House 2 nights ago, right? It was set. He was supposed to come on and talk, and he didn't. All he did was come on and talk about the 2 flagpoles they're erecting. And people think that that is not the speech that was going to be given. And then later that night, he truthed out on Truth Social and named several names. And he said, these people have lied to me and misled me. It is thought that he was coming out to announce we have bombed or about to execute on Iran. And somehow he found information or was given information that these guys, and these were Obama-appointed people apparently, and he named them and I believe fired them in the Truth Social right there. And that is why this has been delayed.
I think
they
that
had misguided him in some manner.
I think what needs to happen, and I know everybody was hoping that was going to happen, but I think that what needs to happen is people need to be start being charged with crimes. The reality is, from a purely pragmatic perspective, Hillary Clinton.
She came out and said some shit the other day.
Hillary Clinton helped the Iranians obtain fusionable material. That's treason. The Obama administration.
Why did she do that?
For her own self-political gains. The Obama administration paid millions and millions of dollars to the Iranian government, which was then turned around and used to buy and produce ballistic missiles that the Houthis have been shooting, that the Iranians have been shooting at Israel.
Didn't the Bidens just give them a bunch of money? Biden administration
I don't know if
Iran got $4 billion or something out of that.
I wouldn't say that the Biden administration gave them money more than saying that.
Well, Trump froze it.
Well, more than saying that what was happening was the Biden administration was continuing a policy from the Obama administration. The reality is we need to start punishing these people for the crimes that they're committing, not just against U.S. taxpayers, but really the world.
Who would you start with?
I would start with Obama.
Who else?
And then Hillary Clinton. And then John Kerry. Those people need to be charged with treason because they were operating an organization that was subverting American interests.
What's the punishment for treason?
Could be death. But either way, they should suffer a toll for what they were doing within the confines of talking about Israel.
What are they all 80 now?
I don't know. How old
Is that what they're waiting for?
Doesn't matter.
They're gonna punish. They're gonna find them guilty after they die.
Doesn't matter. The issue is the issue that you run into, and I think this is the issue that Kash Patel and Giovanni or Giovanni or whatever his name is. What's his name? Bongino. Sorry. I think that the issue that they run into, to include Trump, is the level of corruption within the U.S. government is so rampant that the minute you go, you've committed a crime, we're going to punish you for that crime, the fucking doors open. Like, the doors open and they're like, everybody's drinking the blood. Like, everybody's drinking the blood. Are you going to get us all? My personal opinion is, I mean, I don't know if America could survive it, but yes, there should be a bloodletting. There should be not a revenge tour like the Biden administration was doing, but here is a law that every U.S. citizen has to follow, and here is the law that these fucking tools have been breaking all these years. Let's start showing that you cannot operate above the law just because it's like that stupid Senator fucking Padilla or whatever the fuck his name is.
That was just all a photo op.
Of course it was. But he broke
one of them.
He was breaking the law.
Yeah.
He was breaking the fucking law.
Yeah, they dropped the charges.
Charge him to the fucking...
Just like, so
charge him to the wall.
La Monica or whatever, it was hitting the ICE agent.
Yeah.
They actually indicted her. And the full charge is 17 years. They won't give her shit. It's just an example.
No, charge these people to the walls.
The Padilla guy, and then you had 2 more that got arrested. One was running for governor or something. Yeah. So that's giving him all the talking points in the world right now.
These people need to spend a couple of nights in jail. That's all. It's equal justice under the law, or it's no justice at all. Period. If I break the law, I get charged and I go to jail. They break the law, it's a photo op. No. He needs to spend the night in the jail. He needs to spend the night in the jail. He needs to have conviction of what he did. It's kind of like California, right? Like you take a look at California and the riots in California.
It's like 2 blocks.
It doesn't even matter. They're talking about this is they're doing these riots in order to fucking support illegal immigrants, right? They're doing these riots in order to support illegal immigrants. The leadership in California is the reason why you have all these illegal immigrants in there, because they allowed.
Because they want those votes.
They allowed this to happen.
That's how they get all those extra seats.
You don't see governor.
They said that just by pulling the illegals out of California, they lose 46 seats or something.
You don't see the governor down there.
California will turn red.
You don't see the governor down there throwing bricks. You don't see the governor down there marching.
He's not even anywhere near there.
Yeah. And he's the one that caused this fucking problem. I mean, I don't know. California, it wouldn't surprise me. Forget about the just those type of votes. It wouldn't surprise me if California turned red after this, because Gavin Newsom is the fucking worst governor. He's stealing money. He is stealing so much fucking money from the state of California. Like, again, Donald Trump got rid of his stupid EV shit that he was going to do, right? So what did Gavin Newsom do? He immediately put 60 cents on top of gas. Gas is already over $5 in California.
Every time there's an emergency, you see it at 7 to 9.
Gas is already over $5 in California. He just added 60 cents to it. Now,
where does that go?
It goes in his fucking pocket because he's a goddamn thief.
How about the $40 billion for the train?
Yeah. In his pocket. Well, pockets of his.
How about the $120 billion for the homeless? And they had 3 shelters set up or something?
Yeah. It's just thievery. And does, as a Californian, does $7, or let's say we're at $6.50 a gallon. Does that affect Gavin Newsom?
No, of course
not.
not.
No, it doesn't affect Gavin Newsom.
Just like the lockdowns did.
The only people it affects is the everyday people in California that Gavin Newsom pretends like he cares about, and yet he's stealing money from them.
What was all that shit about having Xi Jinping in there to San Francisco and shit?
Well, it was a good excuse to clean up It was a good excuse
right.
to
Where
move
did
the homeless.
Where did they all go? Everybody says that they've never come back. Those people disappeared. They've never seen them again.
They're in Seattle.
You think that's where they are?
I don't know.
I think they got put on ships and taken over to China.
And then rich people are buying their organs off the
or they got
international
moved, or they got moved into that sovereign Chinese territory. Those factories in Idaho.
Maybe. I don't know. It's just California. People on the left always say, "Well, communists didn't work because it wasn't done right."
Right.
You have the state of California that is completely run by Democrats. You have the capability to have the greatest fucking liberal Democrat utopia in the world, and it's a shithole. It's a fucking shithole. I mean, there's just no reason to be a fucking liberal Democrat, because there's nothing that they have created. There's no one that they are protecting. There's nothing that makes California even a good state, except for the tech companies. Like, if the tech companies continue to leave at the rate that they're leaving,
they're all leaving.
California is done.
You've got all your anchor stores. You have your major Silicon Valley there. They had a
wait.
Yeah.
I'm in here. I need a phone charger. I need a what do you call it? The cigarette lighter charger. I just need a cigarette lighter charger, John. That's it. Just a cigarette lighter charger. I go into Walmart to get this item.
Doesn't exist.
No, it exists. It completely exists. I have to wait a half hour for someone to come unlock the cabinet. That fucking lighter's... That's not a Walmart problem. That's a failure of the state. That is the failure of the state of California to be able to protect its fucking merchandise, protect its companies so that they can sell
Look at all the
products.
Walgreens. Look at all the Walgreens that pulled out of California. Look at all the...
I went into This wasn't California, but this is when I was in Oregon. I went into Walgreens in Oregon. Not only was everything locked up, but I would say 40%, I bet it was 55% of the merchandise that you normally see in Walgreens was gone. Like, I can't remember what I bought.
I saw videos where there was no merchandise. There's only photos, and somebody in the back has to go get your shit.
I can't remember what it was, but I'm like, I bought something. I went up to the cash register, and I was talking to the girl, and I'm like, I'm looking around the shop, and I go, man, I really wish I'd have brought my roller skates. Like, you have all this space in here. It's just wasted space. She's like, I would have had to kick you out. I go, you'd have had to catch me. But, I mean, that's just...
Well, look at the Walmarts in Atlanta. They closed a bunch of Walmarts because they weren't being protected.
Those are failures of your fucking liberal, degenerate fucking Democrat Party cities. That's a failure, guys. When you go into a store and your shampoo is locked up, that's not a derogatory thing for Walmart. That's a failure of your fucking city. That's a failure of everybody in your fucking government. Failure. You need to fire all those people. I don't care if you want to have, I do not care if you want to turn California into the communist state of California. Do it, but at least make it work.
It doesn't work though, because most of those people don't work.
Governor Newsom, like, you might have a really good...
Think about all your liberal programs, right? It's all about taking money from somebody that does work and giving it to people who will not work. How can that possibly fucking work?
Well, it could. It could in California. It could in California. You could do it in California. If you didn't have all these people in the legislation in California that wasn't stealing all the money anyways. Because that's all they're doing. That's all they're doing. Gavin, here's a classic example. Southern Cal Edison got charged, they got fined like $26 million for a wildfire. $26 million. The courts were like, hey, you definitely caused these wildfires, fires. $26 million you're going to pay. When it got to the state of California, and it got to the fees and penalty portion of it, guess what California did? The governor waived the penalties. He's like, shame on you, but you don't have to pay us the money.
The governor has the final say on that?
His wife's nonprofit immediately got $500,000 put in her account from Southern California Edison. They're all fucking thieves.
You think they're
goddamn
get more than
thieves?
That? $500,000 versus $126 million.
Yeah, but it doesn't matter when you're talking about here and there, because it's what most people don't understand. It's not the money thing. The money is when you and I make an agreement. We make an agreement for something. We say, hey, we're gonna make a shit ton of money. Now, I'm the governor. The governor really doesn't have the capability of making money outside of his paycheck. He doesn't have that capability. But you, running Southern California Edison, you're like, oh, we're going to start this fight. We're going to start this PAC over here for you. We're going to do this over here for you. We're going to pad your wife's charity. When they gave him that, when they gave the charity the money, that $500,000, that wasn't where the real money was coming from. That was just like, that was the buy-in. That's, here you go. We're serious because we just gave you this money. That's all that was. He's making the real money on the other end, on other entities that San Diego Gas and Electric is setting up for him. He's a fucking criminal. The goddamn guy is a fucking criminal, and he's doing heinous things. He doesn't do anything for California.
So
nothing.
who audits that?
Huh?
Who audits that?
The governor.
Who oversees him?
The governor. You have a state legislation that is completely liberal Democrats.
Yeah, that's all Nancy Pelosi shit.
But I mean, they're complete liberal Democrats, so they're all doing the same thing, just at a different level. They're all fucking criminals.
Many states are doing that.
They're all criminals. Hey, I will say this: if you're the governor of New Mexico, I don't know what your political. I don't know if you're a Democrat.
They were pretty wild during the lockdowns too.
I don't know if you're a Democrat.
She was doing all kinds of crazy shit.
Liberal. I don't know what. But if you're running the state of New Mexico, please, for God's sakes, please get on Donald Trump's good side and ask for some money. The worst freeway through New Mexico. Like, I thought I was in Ukraine doing a supply run. The worst freeway ever. I saw cars disappear into holes. That stretch of I-40 that goes through New Mexico.
That's how parts of Tennessee are
is
too.
It's a damn. You would think that the Army went through and just was bombing everything that looked like a runway, because I saw more semi trucks and vehicles on the side of the road on that stretch of I-40, like just on the side of the road with the hazards on, than anywhere else. I really thought a couple of times in the RV, and I had to slow way down going through that part of New Mexico. There was a couple of times where I know I went all the way to the top of the fucking struts and springs, man. Please, New Mexico, fix your roads for Christ's sake.
So I was listening to a PBD podcast this morning.
PBD podcast. What does it stand for?
Patrick Bet David.
Okay.
Valuetainment. And he's got a staunch Israeli person on his board there, like one of the speakers that's always on their podcast. And anyways, they have this lady come on she's not ugly.
She must be a Republican.
She is a Republican. She's in government. And her name's Nancy Mace, I believe. She's a congresswoman from South Carolina. And they were talking, and she had said that you're seeing this happen all through Florida right now, as well as Texas. Every time a church fails, Muslims buy it and convert it to a mosque. And it's happening at a rapid rate. These churches are failing, and they're buying these facilities that are already turnkey, ready to go. And there was some interview of a sheik or an imam or whatever. And he said, you guys came from America and from Europe and came all through our countries and set up Christian schools and Christian churches and converted a bunch of our young people. And we're repaying the favor now. And I just thought that was, kind of interesting. And Bet David said, yeah, when we met with the Taliban, the head of the Taliban or whatever, did a podcast with them, came on and they interviewed him, as did Sean Ryan, I believe. And he said, you and I are not that much different. You wear a nice watch to show people how much money you have and to flaunt your wealth. I don't wear a watch because I have 1,000 years, and eventually I'm going to get my goal, whatever it is, and I have 1,000 years to do it. Being, we're going to convert the world to Muslim is basically what he was talking about. So Patrick Bet David had asked her, he said, so what do we do about this? And she says, well, you just have to stay on top of these things. You have to go in, when you hear about Sharia law, you have to go in, with law enforcement and investigate it. And he said, you'll never get anywhere doing that. They're going to grow and spread too rapidly. And he came from Iran, a Muslim country, and his take on it, and she said, well, what do you recommend we do? And he said, you have to stop it right now before it takes over. He said, look at England, look at, Europe, look at Scotland, look at Ireland. It is all Muslim controlled. The 70 to 80% of governance is now Muslim governance, and you have lost your original roots there. Those people have no say any longer. And he said, yes, the United States is the country of, free religion and welcome all. He said, but not that one. He said, you have to cut this off right now.
Again, this is kind of like when people are talking about thousands and thousands of terrorist cells all over the United States getting ready to pop off. America is great. America is a great place. An American can easily absorb the influences of some different religions. It's not going to be the end of the world. I mean, people tend to forget. When he says 1,000 years, they have been trying to convert the world for more than 1,000 years. Okay, more than 1,000 years. And the interesting thing about America is because of the type of freedom that we have in the United States, because of the type of freedom that is different than anywhere else in the world, no matter what anybody says. We tolerate things to a certain extent. But when we decide we're not going to tolerate said thing anymore, we eradicate it. It's a switch that gets turned on immediately, and so I mean, again,
7-1.
I have no issue. I have no issue with.
They say that their Muslims are outbreeding.
In the world,
outproducing
true.
Christians 7-1.
Yeah, in the world, true.
How about
In the world, true. Because again, you have to look at the economics of it. The reason why they're outbreeding is because they are poor people. They're poor people, and so that's how it happens.
Little Mogadishu.
Again,
You know where that is?
in Minnesota.
Right, Little Mogadishu, and that's where Tim Walls and
But again-
all of them are. Right, that's where Ilhan Omar is.
Yeah.
And he said, don't worry about it. That's just Little Mogadishu. That's just there. And he said, then 6 years later, the squad. Oh, there's Little Mogadishu now in Congress, and there's Little Mogadishu, and it's no longer Little Mogadishu. It's Medium Mogadishu.
Well, they're getting ready. They're getting ready to. They're getting ready. They're getting ready to almost arrest her and pull her out of Congress.
So did you
And
see her?
when you think about Mogadishu, when you say that, you bring up breeding, but the reality is we imported all those
Yep.
Somalis. We
Yep.
brought them here. So again, it takes a while. It does take a while, but eventually, one of two things are going to happen.
She
The
said,
Somalis that live in Minnesota, the Somalis that live in Little Mogadishu, are going to assimilate within the confines of the United States of America, or they're going to get run out of town. It's one of those things. You know, people don't understand that. People don't understand that the Muslim world for 500 years was expanding across the globe, killing Christians before the Crusades. For 500 years, the Muslims were killing and executing Christians and moving across that entire part of the world. Again, the problem that they have, the problem that the when you talk about, oh, we're gonna simulate you. Well, first off, you're not even the big portion.
you can't simulate them. You put them all in one area.
No.
You don't spread them thin enough to
What
actually
I'm saying is they're going to take over the country.
Mm-hmm.
You're not even the biggest minority in the world. China is, and China ain't converting over to fucking Muslim anytime soon. But even here in the United States, you people tend to forget how big the country is and how quickly we will turn on someone who doesn't want to be part of America.
You see the mega mosque city they were building in Texas that they were trying to get. They bought all the property for it.
Yeah.
It got shut down apparently, outside of Austin somewhere.
Good. It doesn't need to be.
Yeah, they're having call
Doesn't need to be.
to prayer. You have full courthouse buildings. You have full government buildings that are all flying Somali flags ahead of the U.S. flag. They're
I
doing
don't know
call
if
to
that's
prayer.
true, but
I believe it is.
I don't believe it's true.
I'll find it.
Well, you can find it, but I don't believe it's true. And even if it's true, it's going to be some fucking bullshit city hall that doesn't matter.
It is,
anymore.
just like
So,
they're flying the trans flag above the U.S. flag. But I think a lot of that's getting squashed. They're coming in and they're changing
Well, that's what I'm
a lot
saying.
of that shit.
What I'm saying is we have this, the United States as a country, we have this capability to tolerate a lot. If you look at, for example, the alphabet stew movement, for years and years, we've been tolerating that movement. And what it's done is it's allowed that movement to get more and more crazy. Basically, more and more crazy. So we tolerate it, more and more crazy,
That's
more and
what
more
she
crazy.
said. Yeah.
And eventually, real Americans, even real Americans within the alphabet stew that is, will be like, yeah, that's too crazy. You're gonna rein it back. I mean, again, it's gonna.
Yeah, they're about to
It's
cleave
gonna-
that. They're about
it's
to
gonna come-
cleave that whole trans portion off.
It's
of there.
gonna come full circle again, where we're still gonna tolerate the community in a sense, but butt-ass naked parades in front of the local elementary school are over.
When you look at Germany prior to Nazi Germany, a lot of the things that were happening here in the United States were actually happening in Germany. They were starting to do sex changes and the book burnings. You always hear about the book burnings. What books were they burning? And it was along the lines of the literature that they're trying to push to our school children right now to hear the other side. And who knows what the truth was, what books were really burned, what were they burning?
The reality is people don't understand how people really don't understand how 1934 Germany under Adolf Hitler, how mainstream he was. Like how main
You know, he had a 14-foot picture, a painting of Ford in his office.
I'm
like
sure.
he loved Ford. They had met many times. He loved the United States, apparently.
People don't understand how mainstream that was, because again, you had because we think that the only real history is the history we lived in. You have Depression era Germany, and Adolf Hitler lifted them out of Depression era Germany. So many people around the world were like, he's good to go. He's fucking saving his country. It wasn't until his expansionist war years where people started not liking him. So, it's just an interesting world how that stuff plays out.
Is that what Israel's doing right now?
What?
Expansionism.
They're doing two things. Israel is doing. This is not a rabbit hole people want to go down. Okay, you don't want to go down this rabbit hole.
They have a whole map.
They don't want to go down this rabbit hole. If you take a look at what is going on currently in Iran, and a lot of Israeli assets are being exposed, not unintentionally, intentionally, meaning in order to execute the operations that they're executing, assets that have been in place for many, many years are being exposed. If you take a look at what happened in Lebanon, if you take a look at what happened in Palestine, you know that the Mossad had people everywhere. So people everywhere at all times and at all levels of that terrorist network that Iran had been running for so many years. Right? You know this. You also know that without October 7th happening,
False flag.
Israel
Allowed.
Israel would not have had the backing or capability to do the things that they are currently doing.
From the United States.
From Israel itself.
Okay. Yeah, they were
Right?
trying to oust Netanyahu.
From Israel itself. Israel as a country itself would have not allowed the Israeli government to execute the operations that they just executed without October 7th being the catalyst that started all this. Remember, October 7th was about terrorists in Palestine. They are now in Iran.
Yeah.
They are now in Iran. And you can try and connect the dots all you want, but they had all these assets in place ready to go already. They had a goddamn air base set up in Iran already with drones. This is not something they set up since October 7th. Every single one of these assets were in place prior to.
Almost like this was a plan.
Well, it doesn't necessarily have to be planned in the sense of, if you're the Israeli government, right? You're the Israeli government. You know the bad guys in your sphere of influence, right? You know who the bad guys are. You know who the players are. And so you can start infiltrating all those organizations and working your way up to the tippy top of government officials within Iran. You can set all that shit up and have informants everywhere. But you also know that you can't just execute 3,000 Lebanese fighters with pagers on a Saturday. You have to have a reason to do it. And that reason was October 7th. And that's why they continue to do the things they continue. Like, let's be.
Is that why all those guns were turned off and stuff?
Let's be realistic. they've killed 20-1 Palestinians for Israelis. They've killed 20-1.
Mm-hmm.
So if this was any type of sporting event, the mercy rule would have already been applied.
So what's your point?
My point is that they needed October 7th to happen.
You mean they let October 7th happen?
Either we are talking about
So why is the USS Liberty being moved over there right now then?
the USS Liberty. What is the USS Liberty?
Aircraft carrier. It was supposed to be...
there's always carriers over there.
No. This carrier was being sent to be decommissioned, and then they rerouted it over there. It's headed there right now. And all of the talk is that they're going to let them sink this carrier. Israel is going to sink this carrier under the guise as though Iran did it. How many ships has Israel shot at, strafed? How many U.S. servicemen? How many instances where Israel has killed U.S. service members or attacked U.S. vessels and then blamed it on somebody else?
I do not believe that whatever this conspiracy theory is about that could possibly be true. From the extent of this,
Look up the USS Liberty.
If an American ship was transitioning through the Straits of Hormuz or somewhere over there, American ship was
Completely redirected.
But again, that's because there's a war going on. We're directing all kinds of assets.
We have
over
carriers over there.
Again, there's a war going on.
You got it?
Mm-hmm.
Read it.
The Wikipedia
Yeah, what's the Wikipedia say about it?
the USS Liberty incident was an attack on the United States Naval Technical Research Ship, a spy ship, USS Liberty, by Israeli Air Force jet fighter aircraft and Israeli Navy boat torpedo boats. The 8th of June 1967, during the Six-Day War, the combined air and sea attack killed 34 crew members, wounded 171 members, and severely damaged.
Yeah, I know that. We've talked about that on the show.
Now, that's what they're calling this. Look up what aircraft carrier was slated to be decommissioned and has now been rerouted to the Middle East. They're calling it Liberty-2 is what the name is.
U.S. Navy is in the process of decommissioning the USS Nimitz.
That's it.
CVN-68, nearly 50-year-old aircraft carrier, which is the oldest active aircraft carrier in the U.S.
Where is it currently located?
Home port shift from Bremerton, Washington to Norfolk, Virginia.
But where is it currently located?
Where are they sending it?
No, you know what? Don't do that. Don't do that, because you're going down a rabbit hole that's not real. What are the current aircraft carriers operating in the Middle East? That's easy. That's an easier find. Okay. Well, anyways, we can go back to this easy, because you have to when somebody says, "Oh, it's the USS Liberty all over again." The problem here is the Liberty was a small ship, small crew, and the Israelis thought that they were going to sink that ship, and there would be no survivors. Well, they did a terrible job.
Do you want to know the two that are...
Yeah, what two are over there?
The two U.S. aircraft carriers operating in the Middle East now are the USS Carl Vinson. That's in the Arabian Sea, while the USS Nimitz is heading toward west from Indo-Pacific region to relieve the Carl Vinson.
Transitioning the Malacca Strait toward the Middle East, according to the United States Navy News Report.
So, anyways, that was a direct attack. The Liberty ship was a direct attack by Israel to get us into the war. I believe at the time they were fighting Egypt, maybe right or wrong, I don't know. Anyways, to drag us into a war in the Middle East. And they were hoping that there'd be no survivors. The difference here is Israel at the time knew that ship was operating in secret off the coast of Israel. And so it was a lone ship.
They blamed it on Egypt, right?
They were going to blame it on... I'm not 100% sure who they were fighting at the time that happened, but... They were going to blame it on a Middle Eastern country, and then it would have drugged the United States. They've tried to do this. We've talked about this before. They've tried to do this several times. They bombed some U.S. soldiers. They bombed and killed some U.S. soldiers in South America and tried to blame it on the Middle East terrorist organizations. They try and do this all the time. And the uniqueness of they try and do this all the time is they always fuck up and don't get it done right. The other thing too is when you're talking about an aircraft carrier, you're talking about a different animal. Aircraft carriers Aircraft carriers do not operate independently. They don't just, we're going to park an aircraft carrier over here. They operate in a carrier group. There are specific ships in those carrier groups that are just there to protect them. Just the carrier group. Now, when you think about the place that we are in the world, the place that ship is going to in the world, there are already ships there with the sole purpose of shooting down missiles. And one of the things that has been highly successful is those ships have been also highly successful. So not only would you have to somehow disable all defensive measures on the carrier itself, you would also have to have all the other ships.
Carl Vinson is a modern day cutting edge ship.
I mean, yeah, as modern as they come. But again, you would have
Whereas the other one is slated to be decommissioned and is an older ship.
But that doesn't
Why
matter.
swap those two?
Because you can't just operate. Carrier groups don't just go out and stay out forever.
No, I understand that, but why not leave?
It's a rotation.
If we're about to go to war in this immediate area, why not leave all the cutting edge shit there?
Because
why
again,
replace it with something old?
Because again, it's just rotation. That's all it is. It's rotation.
In the middle of a war.
We're not at war. We are not at war.
But you are closer to war than we ever have been, right there.
We are currently.
How many times
not
were you
at
guys
war.
slated to go home?
What do you
Where you got extended a little bit?
But the difference is we were at war. We are not currently at war. People rotate even in the height of combat operations in both Iraq and Afghanistan. You could be in the fight, meaning in the height of what's going on in Iraq and Afghanistan, in the fight with the Taliban. And if it was your turn to rotate home, they would be like, pack your shit, you're going home. They rotate all the time. This is not some secret. We're bringing in Titanic 2 in order to sink her. They are not going to allow a U.S. aircraft carrier to be. You're talking about 5,000.
So is it an entire group coming to relieve the group, or is it just the aircraft
It has
carrier?
to be an entire group because a carrier. When you see a carrier leave, pull out of port, right? When you're in San Diego,
It'll never just be a carrier.
the carrier pulls out of port. It's pulling out of port by itself because it's fucking big. And then that carrier goes out into the ocean, and then all the support ships come and fucking go right
many ships
alongside
is
of it.
that?
I don't know what a carrier group is. It's big.
37 more.
No, I don't know. But again, what is it? The Carl Vinson that's out there?
Yeah.
So the Carl Vinson has a carrier group with it. That whole group is going to come home. It's not just that. It's not just like, for example, I will bet you that the carrier group that's going to replace them probably has, there's probably two, maybe
Destroyers.
three, no, just fast attack submarines that are going with it. I mean, it's a big thing. There is never a carrier sitting anywhere in the world outside of port where it's by itself.
Do you have Chat GPT on there?
I can, yeah.
Ask Chat GPT, what ship is it? The Liberty? What's the new carrier that's heading there right now?
It's the Nimitz that's going there right now,
Nimitz.
right?
Yeah.
Ask Chat GPT, is the Nimitz is accompanied by an entire carrier group? See what that says. Yeah, there's a ton of shit all over. Fucking
yeah.
YouTube videos. It's
I
been
know,
going on
but
for
again-
5 days probably.
They do that all the time. It doesn't. If you were going to false flag sink a U.S. ship. So if you were gonna let's just go back to the Liberty. If the Liberty had been sunk and no survivors, if that had been sunk and no survivors, there would have probably been a good chance that we would have went to war with Egypt. If you have a carrier group, you have too many witnesses. When we just had, I don't know if they're using frigates. I don't know what they're probably frigates. And when we just had frigates over there that were shooting down missiles to protect the straits, I would have said high likely probability that you could false flag that you could hit one ship and sink it and then be like, we got to go to war and kill all the Houthis. Because again, It's different when it's just one ship. But when you're talking about an entire carrier group, or you're talking about the fleet is out there protecting, it's very hard for you to go, all right, these fucking Houthi missiles that can't hit the fucking broadside of a barn on a weekend, we're going to have one hit the carrier and sink it so we can go to war. There's a lot easier ways to do it. It just, not only does it not make sense, it's the probability. I mean, you would have to have the cap, the aircraft cap that is flying over all the time. You would have to have them somewhere they're not supposed to be. You would have to have the frigates that are protecting the carrier not have their fucking right. I mean, and then the ship itself has the capability to defend itself. Are all those systems off? I mean, it's such a big deal that it doesn't even make sense. It's people come up with these things who don't know how the military operates.
Wouldn't that phalanx be able to take out missiles?
Depends on what kind of missile it is. I don't know if the phalanx has the capability to take out like a ballistic missile, because it's using a different trajectory. The thing that when
we were talking about drones last week and how carriers are going to be obsolete because of drones, a lot of the comments were now that phalanx system will take those drones out.
Well, I mean, guys, it just depends on what the system is doing. We had a ship with a fucking Volkswagen-sized hole blown in the side of it by a speedboat. Or not even by a speedboat.
Are you talking about the coal?
Yeah.
A lot of people say Israel
did that. A fucking jetty. No, they didn't. Again, you can't... What people don't understand, the only way a conspiracy works is if there are no survivors. So we have to come up with our own conclusions. So we have to be like, well, it had to have been this or it had to have been that. When you have the actual vessel survive, or when you have the actual thing happen, for example, the Liberty, we know what Israel did with the Liberty because the crew survived. We know that they did that.
They classified all that shit until about 10 years ago.
I mean,
that's when you started hearing about it.
I read about the Liberty when I was in high school. So
about Israel hitting it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I know that, again, when you think about, I can't think about it was in El Salvador or Panama? I have to redo, but when Mossad blew up the discotheque and killed the 3 army soldiers, that was immediately released too. That was Mossad. So we have kind of this, what most people don't understand is we have this very cantankerous relationship. Everybody thinks that we're all, that the United States and Israel is all high-fiving and fucking, hanging out at barbecues together. That's not the case. Like, if you talk to any fucking buddy that's like in the CIA and you talk about Mossad, they will talk about Mossad as the fucking assholes of the planet. That the Mossad, we're not doing bona fides with the Mossad, and we're not all in the great fight against the evil empire. The way Israel is set up is it's Israel against the world. And so...
Do you remember the car bomb at University Town Center, UTC? Navy officer, minivan, blew up, killed his wife. Full-blown car bomb. What was that ever about?
I don't know, probably to kill his wife?
No, they said it was terrorists that blew it up. He was some intel dude or something. And it blew up at UTC as she was leaving, or he and her were leaving or something.
I don't know. I mean, it
was when I was in elementary school.
Going too deep. That's where the problem with what's going on in the Middle East right now is, so for example, when people are talking about we shouldn't get involved in what Israel is doing, there's going to be a point where Netanyahu is going to go like this, where he's going to go. He's going to be like, hey, look over here, and everybody's going to be like, oh my God, I can't believe that they just arrested Greta Thunberg. And then he's going to hand the torch to Trump. And Trump is going to take that torch and he's going to go, we got it. Big peace deal. Iran, now a republic. Because Israel cannot put up the Israeli flag in Iran and survive the outcome. Because the rest of the Middle East will immediately start growing terrorists at the fucking exponential rate. And again, Israel is very good at what they do, but Terrorism has a head all of its own that has the capability to find out what your weaknesses are and be able to exploit those weaknesses. And again, when you see Israeli women walking around with fucking M4 carbines slung over their shoulder at the mall, it's because a terrorist blew up a mall. When you see them on the bus with guns, it's because a fucking terrorist blew up a bus. They can turn your country into a fucking prison camp, whether you like it or not. And so what I believe is, outside of some sort of serious revolution within the Iranian population, the Palestinian population, the Lebanese population, outside of serious come to Jesus moment, you might want to think about it. Outside of a serious come to Jesus moment, right now in Lebanon, right now in Palestine, right now in Iran, right now as we speak, there is a group of people that the Israelis have no idea who they are, have no connection to them because they're disrupting all the terrorist networks, that are plotting and planning on how they can fucking attack and kill Israelis. I think we're gonna go back to the 70s.
Isn't it like a Hydra? Everyone you kill, eight more heads.
Well, I don't know about 8.
Well, you kill the father, and all the children become terrorists.
I don't know the 8, but I do believe that in 10 years, or probably not even 10 years, probably 5 years, you'll see that Israelis going to be dealing with a lot of. It's gonna look like the 70s again, right? Anywhere where Israelis go, where there is the ability to attack them, they're going to get attacked. I mean, they just had an attack in Colorado.
Yeah, let's talk about that.
Yeah, they just had an attack in Colorado where it was a.
Well, those weren't Israelis, though. Those were Jewish people.
Yeah, they were just
old, like some of them were Holocaust survivors, I believe.
All Jews are Israelis. Yeah, someone attacked. It was just a solidarity march or some shit like
which
that.
Which they've done every year, which happen frequently.
And so a non-Jewish person,
Egyptian, I believe,
non-Christian person,
which they immediately reported as white MAGA supporter, attacked
this group. And I believe somebody was killed. I don't know the details because I haven't been paying attention.
9 people went to the burn injuries.
I haven't paid attention to it because
they snatched him up and his family.
Unfortunately,
and there was a lot of squealing and gnashing of teeth that the daughter was going to school in the United States here, and they said, "Well, you can be deported with your father," and then some fucking judge stopped that.
Yeah, deport them all, guys. Activist judges need to be destroyed. But yes, but again, not a real terrorist organization, just an individual that conducted a terrorist act. And there are millions and millions of those individuals all over the world right now.
Yeah, what happened to the one in New Orleans that drove his vehicle through there and the whole deal?
I don't know.
Right about the same time as the Cybertruck bomb went off in Trump Towers in Vegas.
I think we're gonna see a resurgence of homegrown terrorist networks that nobody really knows about, that are going to be blowing up specific targets around the world in order to extract some sort of vengeance against the Jewish people. That's what I think Israeli has to look forward to. Is it worth the push? It's probably worth the push. You cannot have a nation like Iran with nuclear weapons.
Who every time he's on TV, he's like, we're gonna little Satan, big Satan.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, again, they don't.
How many times is the motherfucker gonna come out and be like, we're gonna do something that the world's gonna remember us for thousands of years, and then be surprised when fucking his shit gets bombed?
Yeah, well, I mean, again. When you're running a country from a dictator point of perspective, they have to you always have to project strength, because the minute when you're in that type of environment, we'll think like North Korea, right? Let's think about North Korea for a second. We'll just talk about mini Pooh Bear in North Korea. You at his level, you always have to project strength. So when he's throwing his cousin out in the woods and letting a pack of fucking wild animals eat him because his cousin took one extra rice ball at the family gathering.
That happened?
he's killed people with fucking wild animals. At that level and at those type of dictatorships in that particular realm, you have to execute things as if you're a fucking mad dog. And the reason why you have to do that is because there's always, even in Iran or in North Korea, there is always 10 motherfuckers right underneath you going, the minute you fucking stumble, we're going to eat you alive. It's always a scenario where the group below is just, they're going to smile and wave the flags, but they are ready to eat that motherfucker. He just has to fucking stumble, and all he has to do is show a minute of weakness. It's the same thing in Iran. The government of Iran cannot show weakness, so when they get on TV, they have to be able to go, we're going to fucking nuke Israel, we're going to fucking give America a day. They have to keep saying that in order to keep their population from eating them. That's all. It's just rhetoric that they have to throw out there. It's no different like if you take a look at the Democratic Party right now. They have to throw rhetoric out because they don't have any teeth. There's nothing they can do. It's easy for Democrats. It's easy for Democrats to protect illegal immigrants now when they can't do anything about it. It's funny that when they were in charge of the government for the last 12 years.
How about Obama?
And again, last 12 years, did they do anything? They could have changed the law, but guess what they didn't do? They didn't fucking change the law because Democrats do not give two shits about illegal immigrants. They just care about the votes. That's it. So fuck Democrats. If you're still in the Democratic camp, I would rather you be an anarchist because at least anarchists stand for something than a Democrat. Democrats don't stand for shit.
So do you think that had this been, having seen the Bush years,
Yeah.
Clinton, any of that shit, had any of them been to this point, we would have woke up. I expected to wake up this morning, yesterday morning, the morning before, and see all the reporting that we have bombed Iran.
Yes, because
do you think we are going to bomb Iran?
It depends on how things continue to go. You have to understand that those former presidents that you're talking about were war hawks. They understood that we needed war as bread and circus, but also, I know people don't want to fucking admit this, but our economy is based off us going to war,
always.
Right? And so that's why you have, as soon as this started, like you think about it, as soon as this started, Israel has not even been like, hey man, can you give me a hand on this? They're not even asking for our help. You have all these fucking people in Congress going, bomb Iran, because they're fucking profiting off of it, because they're fucking evil bitches and they profit off of war, and that's all they want to do is keep going to war and killing people that don't live in their backyard. And you know, some of those people in Congress right now would kill people in their backyard if they could profit off of it.
So Trump said he gave them, the Iran 60 days to shut down their nuclear
and then 61,
program.
the Israelis
And
blew the shit out of
61, they
Iran.
blew the shit out of him. And he just said again, he's like, it really seems forward-facing Trump speaking, like he does not want to go to war. He wants them to shut down their nuclear enrichment program. He said, we will give you the material to have nuclear electric plants. So yesterday or this morning, there's some footage of Trump saying that Iran wants to come to the White House and actually have some negotiations.
So when you were talking about Trump was going to come out and say something, and then Trump came out and was like, look at these beautiful flagpoles.
Yeah.
They had already started talking to Iran, that's why. So I think Trump was going to come out and go, B-1 bombers on the way. And then Iran was like, doot, 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 with a landline, because the Israelis are listening to everything digital. And we're like, hey man, we really, I need a condo in Florida and maybe like 72 virgins, and we're going to call this quits. So I think he is current. I think our government is in talks with Iran to see what's going on.
You don't think Israel would bomb that plane when it takes off out of Iran, like blow it out of the air?
No, they're again.
And will
Israel
it be
has
the supreme leader that comes to the United States?
No, fuck no. Supreme leader's not coming to the United States. Supreme leader's not leaving the. He's
bunker.
He's probably in the bunker with whatever radiation, whatever nuclear material they have, with his arm wrapped around it, going, "There's no way they're going to blow this
Isn't
up."
he like 84?
I don't know what's 84.
He's 84 years old.
Oh, I mean, yeah, he's old. But again, it won't be the supreme leader that comes here. And I would be surprised.
Maybe that's what China was picking up.
I bet we would go there.
Maybe that's what China was picking up and getting them out of the country, because there was some talk. China said you guys can seek refuge in China, and I believe Russia said the same thing.
Mm-hmm.
Now Russia's been pretty quiet. Somebody from Russia supposedly came out and said we are allies and we will support Iran and fight with Iran. But you know who did not say that?
They did say
that was not Putin saying
that. Yeah, but they did say that they would support their ally. But again, unfortunately for the evil empires of the 19th century versus the 21st century, is they are all paper tigers. There's nothing that Russia could do, like outside of launching ballistic missiles, like being like, fuck it, push the button. There's nothing they can do to support. I mean, if we decided, let's just say Trump's like, fuck it, boots on the ground. Russia's not going to do shit.
So, can we just go in there, bomb this facility with the B-1 or whatever, and that's the end of the U.S. involvement? Or is that just that is the beginning of U.S. involvement?
From a tactical perspective, from a geopolitical tactical perspective, yes, the U.S. could go in there with a B-1 bomber, maybe 2, drop 2 fucking bunker busters, destroy the facility. Israel's public end game, remember I said public, Israel's public end game would be solved. Remember, they're waving the banner that says Iranians can never have a nuclear weapon. So if we destroy that facility, then the public mission that the Israelis have is complete, and war over. War over. Everybody goes home. But again, what are we doing? What's the United States doing? The United States is currently winding down operations. The United States is currently winding down funding operations to Ukraine war.
So we need another one.
China does not look like it is going to fucking cross the sea there and attack Taiwan.
China apparently had ships further out in the Pacific Ocean than they've ever had them before. Last week, did you hear anything about it?
I mean, whatever. Who cares? It's again, Russia can put. Russia could have. I think we said this last week. Come to the United States. Let's have Fleet Week in San Francisco. Bring your carrier to San Francisco. Let's have Fleet Week. Let's have a party. We can have fucking whatever. You could import some dogs that you guys eat over there, and we could have a big barbecue.
How about China?
We could have a big barbecue in San Francisco with the Chinese fleet. Come to America. Let's have Fleet Week. They don't have the capability. They don't have the
capability to come to America.
They have the capability to get here, but the force structure is not set up in a way where it is any way structured in an offensive operation capability. So it's different when the United States put an aircraft carrier. When the United States puts an aircraft carrier in that part of the world, over by China, there's nothing China can do about it. Nothing. They can't do shit. They could launch a nuclear weapon, but they don't have the naval capability to go toe-to-toe with us in that part of the world, period. If they bring an aircraft carrier off the coast, if they bring their ships off the coast of the United States, they bring them. They hoist their flag. That's at the convenience of America. We allow it to happen. We don't ask permission to go anywhere in the world. We would allow China. So Chinese ships in the Pacific, who cares? It's because we're allowing it.
Okay, so what do you think is going to happen by next week? When we're doing this podcast next week, what do you think you're going to be reporting?
Peace in the Middle East.
You think that's it?
Peace. Donald Trump.
Did we drop that bomb?
Donald Trump's going to have a big plan. Big deal. No, I don't. You know what? Part of the reason why the Democratic Party hates fucking Donald Trump is because when he says he's anti-war, he's serious. He's not fake like the Democratic Party. He's serious. He does. If you pay attention to everything that he's done, the first 4 and this 4, he tries to exhaust all means of not going to war. He's really he's trying to diplomatically solve this problem without putting Americans in harm's way. Okay. The question is, do we drop the bomb? It's a two-pathway story. If the Iranians truly come to the table, if the Iranian leadership truly comes to the table and wants to make a deal with the United States, we don't drop the bomb. If they don't come to the table, we drop the bomb, we destroy that facility, and then we immediately use assets to have a fucking popular uprising in Iran, and it turns into a shithole like Libya.
Well, I think that's happening. They say that the military is defecting. They called up their guard, which is basically their national guard. They said they told Israel that you better evacuate Tel Aviv. Nothing fucking happened because they can't. They don't have anything that can happen.
They're still hitting Tel Aviv, but again, you're in a very precarious situation. Iran can't. This is kind of why Trump
Trump said you better evacuate Tehran.
Yeah,
and 9 million people left.
Yeah,
like you can see the fucking videos of the ants leaving, the cockroaches leaving.
Because again, most people in the world understand that America is. Of course, it's a myth. Bull in the China shop. If you put a bull in a China shop, he's just going to walk around the China. He's not going to knock anything down. But America is the fucking bull in the China shop. When we say we're going to come blow some shit up, we usually blow some shit up. We usually do what we say we're going to do, and it never works out for the people. It never works out for the people who are living in those areas. So it's smart to move.
Reporting is that the Iranian military is defecting. Who are they defecting to? Where would they? Who would they turn over to?
Remember, I told you about the
Mossad.
The IDF is getting phone calls from people that are like, well, "Hey, man, I just operate this fucking rocket launcher. I'm not going to shoot anything." They are people that are, because in those type of environments, in those type of government, in that world. So whether it was working for Saddam Hussein or it's working for the supreme leader in Iran or anywhere in the Middle East. 90% of the individuals, or might not be quite that high, maybe 80%. 80% of the individuals are working at such a high level of fear of retribution that they become ineffective. They're not effective. If you have 1,000 troops and 80% of those troops believe that the only reason why they're there and the only reason why they have to do what they're doing is because the other 20% would immediately execute them if they don't do it. Those troops are worthless. They're not fucking good troops. They're just cannon fodder. And that same thing with, when we ran into the Iraqis in Kuwait, why we were getting hundreds of thousands of people surrendering before fucking hostilities even really happened. Because they were completely ineffective, because they're living under a totalitarian rule, and you can't have good soldiers that way. Iran doesn't have they don't have a good military.
Can the Iranians do jumping jacks?
I don't think so.
That video popped up the other day.
I don't think they can.
Iraqis doing jumping jacks.
I don't think they can do. Well, they might be able to, because again, Iran had it's kind of different. It's kind of different for Iran, and maybe they're fucked up now, but it's kind of different for Iran than Iraq. In Iraq, we destroyed their military, and so we were taking people out of the countryside and being like, "Hey, you're now a soldier. Let's see you do jumping jacks," and that's why you got what you got. When Iran took over, they fell in on a professional military. Yes, they killed a lot of them, but then again, they still had a lot of them that knew how to march. They still had a lot of them that knew how to fly planes. They still had a lot of them that knew how to do the things that the military does. So I'm sure they can do jumping jacks. That's probably about it.
So you think no war by next week?
Not with Iran. Not meaning the Marine Corps spooling that there's a fucking Lance Corporal in the motor pool that just finished painting his Humvee green.
No, yeah,
that is now standing there with two, the fucking the gunny comes out with 2 cans of tan paint. Probably not. I mean, we might use air power. Kind of. I think if you see any action in Iran, smart play is if you see any action in Iran, it's going to be like Libya. It's going to be limited bombing campaign from the United States in support of the Israeli coalition, to stop Iran from having a nuclear weapon. Most likely, I think we're going to see a revolution. Not necessarily like a drag them out in the street, hang them by their toenails revolution, but I think we're going to see the people of Iran are going to start looking around and going, it's interesting that all the people that were enforcing the law are now gone, and they're going to start creating their own. I think because Persia, Persia's a very interesting place. I think they will bounce back way faster than Libya, because obviously Libya still is the armpit of that part of the world. But I think if the government collapses in Iran, the Persians, the people of Iran, will bounce back way faster than like Libya. They'll come back and they'll be like maybe even a productive member of the world organization. I don't know. We'll see.
All right, guys. Well, tell us what you think. Leave your comments. We'll see who was right and what you thought would happen and whether that did or not.
If you're voting against me, it's a bad vote. Go ahead and watch the old videos. I know what's going to happen.
All right.
I was there when it happened.
If you use Amazon and you like what we're doing, any of our video links, if you click through Amazon, it gives us a small percentage of your order. Code SOE at EMP Shield will give you $50 off your order. SOE Gear will give you 20% off of your Redcon 1 order. We are going to go do Patreon question and answer right now.
Where are we going to go do that?
And we will see you guys next week.
I built this